Well, joining us now from Washington, D.C. is the journalist David Storey, and in London is the Republican Party supporter Charlie Wolf. Thank you both for joining us. David Storey in Washington. Donald Trump unrepentant. Why has he said this, do you think?
Well, he's unrepentant on everything that he says. This man doesn't apologize for any controversial comments that he makes. And he's really pandering to a certain base in the American political landscape that says that the people of Muslim faith, people coming from Syria and other areas of the world, are a danger to the American way of life. And he's really pandering to that voter base, and it seems to be resonating.
Charlie Wolf, do you think Donald Trump actually believes what he's saying?
I think he does to a degree. I think there's a combination of he's a natural showman, he's a natural man at grabbing headlines, but I think there's some sort of a belief system. And I think that he's obviously looking at the fact we've had a terrorist attack in America. We had the attacks in Paris recently. And in some respects, what I see is a response to Mr. Obama, to the president. Mr. Obama doesn't seem to be leading. And I'm reminded of the comments David Cameron made about UKIP supporters. I think he called them all a bunch of racists. And I don't think the average American, the supposedly angry white male, as they describe them, is really that racist. But what they are is genuinely scared. They're worried for their children. They're worried for their future. And Mr. Obama doesn't seem to be taking care of that. And Trump, rightly or wrongly, whether his policies will work or not, and I think it's doubtful they will, at least sounds like he's in charge. And I think that's what's attracting them.
As a Republican, what do you think of what he said?
Oh, it's not how I would handle things, but again, I think it's more important to understand why this is happening. No one seems to be giving any sort of a solution or making people feel comfortable. A government's job ultimately is to protect the borders and to protect people. And you think back to Sunday night when Mr. Obama made his speech, he's lecturing people and talking about gun laws. That to me just wasn't inspiring.
David, in Washington, the reaction of Republicans there has not been favorable, has it?
No, it hasn't been favorable. Nearly everybody in his party, well, I say everybody in his party, most of the presidential candidates running in the Republican Party are against Trump. They've condemned what he says. The only candidate that actually came out in favor of him was Ted Cruz. The reason for that is Ted Cruz is kind of pandering for the same voter base. So, he's actually said that Donald Trump was right on this. But across the political spectrum, Trump has been condemned from this, from his own party to Hillary Clinton, who said just today that Donald Trump's hate is not an American value. So he is being condemned for these comments. Of course, it's still resonating with his base, and that's the interesting thing. All these different candidates can say that they're against this, but voters for Trump do believe that keeping Muslims out of America will keep it safe.
And that was a point Charlie Wolf was touching on. There is a significant proportion of Americans who will agree with what he said.
Well, I wouldn't say a significant portion of Americans. I would say that there is a percentage of Americans who are supporters of Trump, who believe that keeping Muslims out of America is safe. I wouldn't say that that is a widespread opinion here in the United States. I live here in Washington, D.C. I work alongside Muslims. We have Muslims that serve in the United States military. So it's not a widespread theory that Muslims are coming to this country and they're going to cause us harm. But there is, again, that percentage of people who are Donald Trump supporters who believe that keeping them out of the country will, again, keep the homeland safe.
Charlie, you were saying that he's appealing to a certain base, and David touched on it there. Are you nervous, though, about what the impact of his comments might be among the broader American population?
I'm nervous about everything right now, to tell you the truth. When you see what's going on in the world, and yes, as someone whose family escaped, Germany and escaped Russia in the 20s and 30s, and I don't think Donald Trump is anything like that. But again, right now we have a situation, I think, going back to what David said, people are, it's not that they don't trust Muslims necessarily. I mean, I work with, all right, I'm in London, so maybe it's different, in a big diverse city, but what they're worried about is their safety, and they don't see anybody addressing that. They almost seem like they're being pushed aside. There's been calls to secure the border, and instead Mr. Obama is trying to let more people in. It's almost like he's taunting them himself. So I think a lot of this does emanate from the White House, and Trump is just a symptom of it.
Nonetheless, Charlie, the White House spokesman tonight saying that Donald Trump's comments should disqualify him from running for president.
Well, I mean, constitutionally, I don't know how that would happen. You know, again, it's up to the people to tell you the truth. But once again, we need leadership. And yes, I think it's fair to criticize what Mr. Trump has said. But even just to go around and call him unhinged and what have you, it goes back, as I said, to David Cameron's comments about UKIP supporters. It just made them feel even less served and strengthened. You know, every time Trump has made these comments, be it about John McCain, which I thought was going to bring him out of the race, he, as you noticed, gets, if not stronger in the polls, he at least stays firm in the polls.
And David, what chances there do you think of Donald Trump winning the Republican nomination?
Well, as we're saying, the poll numbers, there's a poll just out tonight from CNN that says in New Hampshire today, he's increased his lead there in one of the early voting states. Right now, he's neck and neck in Iowa with Ted Cruz. So, I mean, as you know, it's a long election cycle here. We've gone a long way. We've still got a long way to come. And Donald Trump is still pretty high in the polls and, well, the front runner. So it's anybody's guess who will be the Republican nominee.
Would you share that view, Charlie?
Well, normally I would have said, you know, an outsider never makes it. You know, Giuliani was in the lead at this point in the cycle, and he had more qualifications, and he didn't make it. But then again, nothing seems to fit the rules these days. You know, I talk to friends in D.C., and, you know, even they say the same thing. You know, people haven't started voting yet, but again, nothing seems to fit the usual paradigm of how elections run.
Charlie Wolf in London, David Storey in Washington. Thank you for joining us in Scotland.
Thanks.
Now, the House of Lords today began its line-by-line scrutiny of the Scotland Bill, the UK government's legislation to extend the powers of the Holyrood Parliament. Among the matters under examination was the fiscal framework for the new powers.